So please welcome Janelle Lombardi to the show. Welcome, Janelle,
Thank you. I'm so
my
happy to be
soul
here.
sister. Thank you. Thank you. We had a session last week or a few days ago, it feels like. And it's so cool to experience your magic before I get to share because I feel there's more depth to our conversation. I understand you so much more than if I was just coming on to a Zoom link and saying welcome. So I'm so grateful for that session. And, now that I found you on Instagram and I know you're so new to the like putting yourself out there, and I'm so proud of you. And I look at all your reels and I'm like, wow, she really is going for it. Like that's brave. And I feel like when I look at you and I admire that so much. And I see as I was looking through the Instagrams and I was like, just watching your growth that way was amazing. So I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. Well, that means a lot. Yeah.
So you spoke to me on Instagram. My soul listened to you, and it was like I need to interview her, and I need to share her with my community and my world because you're this person that I know found like discovered this about her and wants to help people and has a service. It's the service part of you that comes through this authentic. I just want to help people because I figured out how to help myself, and now I know I want to help the people discover their magic, right? I want them to uncover their magic with your work. So, but let's start back because I think you're just learning about you and your how you grew up and the dance teacher and like how you and you have three boys now, married your high school sweetheart. It's just like a simple, sweet life, but now, in your mid 40s, you've really come into your purpose and you found something that you came here to do. And it's like, oh my gosh, here comes Janelle. Janelle and her magic. So just take us to where you feel drawn to share.
Yeah, I do. I love that you could recognize that because I always felt like I was here on a mission to help people, and I just didn't really know what that looked like. Um, and I would say, like when I was younger, I feel like I started really awakening, kind of like thinking about like my spiritual awakening. It's like it happened over so many years. Like when I was younger, like in high school, I just never really felt like I fit in. I felt different than people. Um, and when I found dance, that was really something that like helped me to express myself. And it was something that I was really good at it and I loved doing it. And then that's why I wanted to become a dance teacher. But yeah, and even during that time, I would say I was really like connected. I always felt connected to God. I always would like talk to my angels. It's like I knew that there was something more that I was connected to that I couldn't see with my eyes. And I knew that like being a dance teacher, I was kind of fulfilling part of my mission because I was helping people to like connect with something that they loved and that I loved as well. And so, and I was just, and I knew that it was more than just me being a dance teacher because I was making soul connections. I was even, I mean, I'm still friends with some of the girls that I taught way back in the day. I've been to their, baby showers and their weddings. So yeah, and I met my husband, like I knew him in high school and we started dating like when I was 18. And for the first time ever, I felt like somebody got me. Like I felt like understood and he believed in me and he supported me. And that was not really something that I experienced with like my high school friends. I just never really felt like I fit in. And so, and I had all these like crazy beliefs, and he believed all those things as well. And so it just felt like really safe, and I felt like I was home.
But why? What was his background? Why was he so open to that? Because that's not, I mean, I'm sure when I was 18, I started talking about the things that I believed in. I don't think, I mean, even as we got older, it wasn't something that I would feel comfortable or had a connection to. It's those certain people, I'm sure, like your husband, that I've, of course, met and along my path. But what was it about him that did he have a background in spiritual stuff, or it's just his
No, and
soul's connected to you?
yeah. And I mean, I believe that we've had many lifetimes together. And so that's why it just like we just it was like instantly we knew
Right.
that we were going to be together. I guess not instantly, but like very early on, we knew that we were going to be together. And we just, and even now, like, we don't fight, which I
Uh-huh.
know is weird for people. They're like, what? You
We
don't?
don't, my husband and I don't either. Yeah.
Yeah.
The girls have, I don't know if they've ever seen us fight in our 20 years of marriage, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel the same way. I felt like Richard started calling me his soulmate the day like we met. Like, and when I was reading your post about a soulmate versus like a twin flame, and you're kind of explaining that, and then
Mhm.
you were talking about your husband and the soulmate word, that resonated with me too. But yeah, it's just very calm,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, that's what like a soulmate connection is, like somebody that feels safe and calm and really like helps you to like it's like they love you so deeply that they like hold space for you to be who you are and
Right.
support you.
Right, totally. Mirrored, and that mirrors my connection with Richard for sure. So interesting because, you know, I didn't get married till I was 36. I met him when I was 35, had Paige at 37, and Presley when I was 40. So it was kind of one of those like, okay, there's my soulmate. Let's go get married, have a baby, have another one. So our whole life really has been that. I mean, all we kind of know is having, raising children. So we didn't have that before time, but we didn't need that. It was that connection. So when I say that to you, do you feel like when you explain a soulmate relationship, now knowing what you do with the Akashic records, how does that play in your life? Like, because we'll talk about timelines too, because I love talking about that. But when you talk about like a soulmate, or you talk, twin flames is a word that there's so many definitions of that to me. And I've interviewed people and it's like meaning one thing and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know that's what it meant." But where does a soulmate come in from? Like how do you put meaning to that?
Yeah, I mean, to me, a soulmate is just like soul. It's like we have like a soul group of people that we incarnate with often. Some people call it a soul group, some people call it a soul pod, but it's just like people that you have different incarnations with, and that it's like you don't have karma to work out with those people. That's
Right.
why it feels so safe. And a soulmate doesn't have to be just like a romantic partner, even. Like for me, like my boys are my soulmates too. Like we have a very safe home where everybody supports each other, and we have karma to work out with other people, but when we come home, this is our safe place, and it's like we don't have karma to work out with each other. Not to say that you might not have like conflicts here and there, but it's like it's different than if
Right.
you were to be with a like a working out karmic relationships. Those are tough.
Right.
um
But when you raised your boys, because they're 20, like late teens and early 20s,
mhm.
three, um, did you raise them consciously with your husband? Was that a intentional parenting process?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that I was incredibly conscious all the time, because I kind of like I was really spiritual like back then, like like when I met my husband, and then like I had my first spiritual experience when I was 21, or like a psychic experience that really shifted me. And then I had my kids, and then I kind of got like stuck in the day-to-day grind and um, just trying to keep everybody alive and well and working full time and making sure everybody got to daycare on time and school on time and, all the things. And so, but really, I still was like, our family and raising our kids was so important to us. And I always wanted a really tight knit family. I wanted my kids to be able to come to me for anything and feel safe to come to me with anything and not feel like I was gonna, get mad at them and judge them or whatever. And so that is what we created, even though I was a little bit, you know, unconscious for a little while, but I kind of like there was a time where when I was unconscious, I would get like really mad and like I would yell at my kids, which I don't really like to admit, but it's like I went through that and I knew I didn't want to be like that. And it was just because I was so disconnected and stressed out all the time. And so since my spiritual awakening, I don't ever yell at my kids. They come to me and tell me, like things that I would never tell my parents or never
Oh,
ask my parents.
totally. I
And
love that.
especially for them like being boys and coming to their mom to ask me certain things. And I'm just so grateful that I have those connections with them. And my husband as well. Like he has such a great connection with them. We all do together.
Oh, I love that. Go back to 20 when you had your psychic experience. Is that your spiritual awakening?
No, but it really shifted me to know that there was something deeper that I was connected to. Um, it was 2001, and my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, his mom died. And it was very unexpected. She was really young, and I had never had anyone that I was really close to die before. And so that was really hard for me. And like I lived with them too. So that was even harder because like I saw her every day. And I created this story in my mind that I wasn't nice enough to her and I should have told her I loved her and I, should have done this or should have done that. And I started creating all of this guilt that I was carrying around. And I was pretty like I wasn't really open about talking about my feelings or sharing my emotions back then. And so I just kept that to myself. And it was eating me up inside. And it was probably 3 or 4 months later that she came to me in my dream. And it was not just a dream. It was like so real. And like I woke up and I was laying in my bed and she was sitting next to me and she was rubbing my legs like really lovingly. And I said, "Oh my gosh, like where have you been?" And she kind of acted like, "What do you mean I've been here the whole time?" And she started talking to me and it was telepathically like her lips were not moving but I could hear her voice so clearly in my head. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I forgot what you sounded like I forgot what her voice sounded like. And the love that I felt coming from her was like not human love. It's like I can't even put into words. Like words don't even describe the love that I felt. It makes me think of like God, source, whatever you want to call it, that is love and that's what we are. And I really feel like that's what I was feeling. And it was like such high frequency. And it really changed me. Like it healed me. In that moment that that was happening, I knew that she loved me. I knew that she knew that I loved her and she wasn't mad at me. And so it was instantly healing. And I remember just like the next day I woke up and I just cried and cried and cried that day because it was like I was releasing all of that stored guilt that I
Right.
had in my body. And but I never once worried about that again. And so I knew that there was something more that I was connected to. I knew that was really magical. And I started having experiences like that. I called them magical experiences. Um, and I didn't know that they were intuitive experiences. I didn't really have a context for that. So I knew other people around me weren't having them, but I had no idea until later on. And they would happen, they weren't happening all the time, but throughout the years, I had a lot of experiences like that. So,
Okay, let's continue the magic then. Keep uncovering it. So you're in your 20s, you're having these dreams and your intuitive abilities are you're starting to realize that, but you're still raising your boys and you're still kind of unconscious.
yeah, I like, when they were, I'd say in elementary school, that's when I kind of was getting stuck in survival mode. And um, I just was feeling like so disconnected and kind of like just depressed. And then in 2016 is when my spiritual awakening started. And it started with me being sick. Um, I always prided myself on being like really healthy and in shape. And all of a sudden, I had started gaining weight. I got acne, like cystic acne, all over my face. It was so painful and such a blow to my ego too.
Right.
And just chronic fatigue and digestive issues. And I mean, the list goes on and on. They were all symptoms that were seemingly unrelated. And I just knew that I needed to make a change. And I had worked in a medical office for many years before that. And so I knew that the medical system was broken. And I knew that doctors weren't taught how to heal us. I was not going to just take a pill to cover it up. And I mean, I was really sensitive. I couldn't even take medications. So and I did go to the doctor for at the very beginning, I went to a doctor and she was like, "You're fine. Like, your blood work is fine. There's nothing wrong with you." And I'm like, "But I feel horrible every single day." So I just started researching like how to heal myself naturally. And looking back at, I was really being divinely guided. I would like get thoughts in my head of like, oh, I need to Google this. And I would like Google it and get information. And it's just like all these puzzle pieces that I was finding. And I decided that I was just going to change my diet. So I went to a plant-based diet. I stopped drinking alcohol. I stopped drinking caffeine. And I started taking supplements and herbs and just finally feeling better. It was a really slow process. And then I heard about breast implant illness. And I had had breast implants for 18 years at that point, and I had them removed. I was like, I want nothing foreign in my body. I want to be completely natural. And that was another layer of starting to feel better um, after that. And then at the end of 2019, I just had this knowing that I needed to heal deeper. Like I was so focused on my physical healing and I needed to heal my soul. And so I just started diving deep into spirituality, reading all the books, listening to all the podcasts, watching all the YouTube videos. And like I tried all the healing techniques or, like the healing modalities. I did a QHHT session. I got attuned to Reiki, energy healings, psychic readings, like all the things. And they all helped me a little bit. Um, but I still was kind of like searching for something. And this was all happening in 2020. And that was, all of a sudden I was working from home. And I had time to like actually like be present with myself. And
Right.
I also was during that time, I had all of these emotions that were coming up that I did not know where they were coming from. I was crying all the time. I even
Huh.
had to Google it because I was like, what's wrong with me? Like, I don't even know why I'm crying. Like, I had no reason to cry. And it's like, oh, like I learned that I was just purging emotions. And that went on for several years. And and it was, I felt like it was such a roller coaster. Like, I would start feeling really good and then I would start feeling bad. And then um, my emotions were on this roller coaster as well.
Huh.
And 2023 was a really rough year for me. I just had a lot of like stressful things happening, and my emotions got really intense. And I just felt like I know that these emotions are not from this lifetime. And my teacher, Amy Belair, she is amazing. You would love her.
Huh. Fun.
She's an Akashic Records reader. And so she had a sale on her Akashic Records readings. And I didn't fully know what the Akashic Records were then. But I was like so desperate to like get somebody to help me understand what I was experiencing. So I had a reading with her and it was so healing. She saw that I was having past life trauma, that that's what I was experiencing. I was processing all of this past life trauma. And like she brought through a lifetime that I was just deeply traumatized by. And I was an orphan and I was like abused and like living on the streets. And I, in that lifetime, was a mute. I didn't even speak because I was so traumatized, not because I couldn't, but because there was, I was just so traumatized. And so there was like a piece of my consciousness that was still stuck in that version of me. And so she did like a healing to help release that consciousness that was stuck in that trauma. And it was so healing to be able to see things from a higher perspective and understand like why I was so emotional all the time because it just did not make any sense. And so I knew after that, seeing how it healed me so much, I knew that I wanted to do that for other people. And but I did not know that I was psychic or intuitive, like I didn't know that at the time. And so I took a psychic activation course and, learning how information comes through your clair senses. And I was like, oh my gosh, that happens to me, you know,
All the time.
yeah, and like all these things, like everything started to make sense. Like all of my magical experiences, those were psychic experiences, but I just didn't know. I had this misconception that if like all the TV shows and they're saying that they can see somebody, and I thought it was like you see them with your physical eyes or you hear them with your physical ears, and that's not how it is. It's very subtle, and if you don't know that it's and if you're not trained to like listen to it, it's easy to just brush it off and be like, oh, that's just my imagination, or
Right. Right. So, but didn't you used to watch Sylvia Brown?
I did.
Yeah, so did
Yeah.
I. And I've even gone to her. I went to her in Seattle live. And I used to read her books, and I was always into Abraham Hicks and Wayne Dyer, and I would always read the Seth books. And I was always when I was reading like the Montel Williams show, and when she was always on it, I was laughing,
Yeah.
going, "Oh my gosh, I watched that too." Okay, so when you're now, because Akashic Records is your like what you really feel is so that's your gift is to go there. So after you had that session and you realize the healing in it, and now you want to help other people, are you taking a class and learning that from her? And then what?
Yeah, I took a couple. I took a couple courses to help like develop my skills, and then I learned how to read the Akashic records for myself, and then I took a certification to read for others.
Okay. And when you learn to do it yourself, is it just, can you explain that?
Yeah, I mean, when I learned how to do it, I was like, that's it. Like,
Right. Well, I
it
think
just,
that way where, I interview so many people that, we all have these gifts. But we make it so difficult. Or, maybe if you realize if you just did it every day, it's just part of your life. But people make it seem like it's so out of the box. But when you make it, what you make it feel like is, yeah, it's not, it's just this. Like we all have this.
mhm. Yeah, I do believe that anybody who's interested in reading the Akashic records can read their Akashic records. You wouldn't be interested if you couldn't do it. Um, and I mean, we all have access to it if we choose. So yeah, it's just like a lot of it is just learning how to interpret the information, but you just do your prayer and you ask your question and you see what comes through. And I really believe that a lot of intuitive people are already attuned to the Akashic records. Like the Akashic records is a field of consciousness. And I feel like there's so many intuitives that are already attuned to it and they're kind of reading the records without even knowing they're reading the records.
Right. Explain that. Explain the records in your way.
Yeah, to me, it is an energetic record of your soul's journey. And so every experience that you have, every lifetime, every emotion, every thought, it's like recorded and it's an energetic imprint within that field. And so when you go into the records, you are attuning yourself to that frequency, and then you're asking the record keepers a question, and it's like they just drop it into your field and you interpret it however, because everybody's different with their clairsenses. And so it's really like you're just interpreting energy.
Who are the record keepers that drop the messages?
Um, I feel like it's whoever, it's like they're from your spirit team. Um, I feel like it's another word for spirit guides. But they like keep the records and the records are sacred. And so they are they are not going to bring information to you that is not going to be helpful or that you're not ready to receive. And the same with like when I'm reading for others, like they're they're not going to receive something that they're not ready to, hear about. Or if, and it also is like so many layers too. Like you can come for an Akashic Records reading and have all this amazing stuff that comes up and then have a reading, 2 months later and all this new stuff comes because there's different layers. And
Right.
maybe you weren't ready to receive, the information that you got in the second reading on the first reading. So,
So, thinking of time, and we know it's all happening now, parallel lives, timelines, all those words that I really love and am so fascinated about. And it's getting easier for me to wrap my head around as
mhm.
I go along this path of mine. Explain how the Akashic records in that way. How do you put all those words within the Akashic records? Because it's all happening now.
Yeah, like time doesn't exist in the Akashic records. Like if you ask, like, when is this? I mean, you can't predict the future. Nobody can because you have free will. And so, um, but if you were to ask, like, when is this certain thing going to happen? Like, you're not going to get
Right.
an answer because it's like time doesn't exist in the records. Um, yeah. And you know what? As far as timelines, I was thinking about this today because I was like thinking about my awakening journey and um there have been two different times that there was a an eclipse, and I feel like I switched timelines. So I almost feel like eclipses have something to do with us switching timelines.
Explain that because I want to ask you another question that I heard. So tell me about the eclipses in your timeline.
Like for me, it was 2017 and we had a like a full solar eclipse. And where I live, it was like the place where everyone was traveling to go. So I feel like it was super powerful. And I mean, I'm not an astrologer, but like I understand it. I'm interested in it, but I just feel like too, like your placements have something to do with if an eclipse is more powerful for you or not. I think
Right,
that plays into it. But that eclipse, right after that eclipse, is when I decided to pull myself together and heal myself and like do the thing. And so I really feel like something shifted in me at that time.
right. So you were explaining something in a video about a friend dying in high school or someone died in high school and then all of a sudden like 20 or so years later your sister someone saw that person on Facebook and was like, "Wait, that person died." How do you explain that in the timeline? Because it started making me think too, all the Mandela effect, all the things that, the label like Jiffy Pop or peanut butter, all, they talk about um the Bernstein Bears, like
Yeah.
all those things that people keep bringing up. How do you explain that um, with that story? I guess start there. What happened?
Yeah, I like with that story, I feel like I switched timelines on this. It was in March. There was a lunar eclipse, and I felt like I switched timelines. And I felt like time was different. I felt like the things that I was working towards all of a sudden like didn't matter. It was really weird. And I actually my teacher was talking about it and she told me to explain to her what I was feeling and I told her and she's like, "Yeah, that's like what a timeline shift is." Because she's very good at explaining all those things. And so I was talking to my sister and just kind of like talking about timeline shifts. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, that happened to me." Um, and I guess so. What I was telling her is that, like, if like you're on a timeline and something, it's like you remember something happening a certain way, like the Mandela effect, or um, like it happened to me once where I was like writing down um, transactions for my credit card. And I was like, what is this transaction? It doesn't make any sense. I wrote down the number and the date and I called the credit card company and they're like, what are you talking about? There's no transaction on that day, that time. I was like, I swear I saw it. And it was like, it was gone. And so it was like just little shifts. Um, I feel like on timelines, it's like there's one main timeline, and then there's like these little octaves of other timelines that you're like kind of switching around between at all times. And so you really don't notice. It's like not big shifts, but you might not notice. And then like for eclipses, if that really is what's happening, which I feel for myself, it's like that's when you're switching a big timeline. And then there's the little octaves around that timeline. um
That are
yeah,
possibilities, right? Like, so I
yeah,
look at it like your consciousness in this aspect of your human body of Janelle is focused right now, right now with me. In another timeline, you could be you're not as your consciousness isn't like right now it's like we're in this moment, but in another timeline it's happening, but your consciousness isn't focused there. Is that how you see it? Because I always say, I'm going to manifest this. I know it's already happening. I just need to get
Right.
into the frequency and align myself with those thoughts and those emotions that is my reality. I know it
Hmm.
already is happening. I just need to adjust that. Is that
Yes.
how you see it?
Yes, that is a great way to say it. Because yes, because you can only be on one timeline at once.
Right,
And so yeah, like you can shift your consciousness. When you raise your consciousness, then there is another higher timeline that you will then attune to because you've raised your consciousness to the frequency of that timeline, and then you can jump on that timeline.
right.
Yeah,
Talk about the galactics, because when in our reading, we talked about that and how you saw me, um, like the Lyran.
a Lyran, yeah.
Yeah, angelic realm. Talk about how you see that in your when you do a reading for someone and their galactic connections.
Yeah, and this is something that I'm just starting to get into. It's like so fascinating to me. But just like you can each galactic group has like a different frequency because I'm a feeler. Like I can feel it. And so that's why, like I said, I just feel like you are like either from the angelic realm or spent time in the angelic realm, like that. It's like a frequency that I just feel. I don't even know how to explain it. It's like my claircognizance too, of like just knowing, and I've learned to trust it. If I feel something, then I just have to say it.
Right. So,
Yeah.
but how do you, so, but it's just basically you're connecting to the frequency of the Pleiadians or, you know that frequency. So when that comes in, you just trust in that person and that you connect that person's soul with that group. But don't you feel, or I don't know, do you feel that we're all part of all this galactic energy, or do we have just one kind of family that we're from?
I feel like we have a an origin. So the origin of like where you started, and it's like that originating group is kind of like the energetic frequency that you hold the most of. And then I feel like we've all been to other realms and experienced other places other than Earth. Um, and so, yeah, I don't, it's not just like one place you've been. I feel like we've all probably been to multiple places. I know that I have for myself. And so you just kind of like, you start up here in this galactic group, and it's like your soul spawns off of source to have an individual experience. And then you spend lifetimes, say, in Lyra, you spend lifetimes there and you kind of like learn things, and then maybe you go down next to the Pleiades and you spend lifetimes there, and maybe you go to mystery schools there and like learn different things that help you to be able to then come down to earth, because those places are such a higher frequency that you can't come just from these high frequencies and then come to Earth. It's like too much of a
Right.
frequency shift. And so it's almost like you make your way down to different places and then you come to Earth to have the Earth experience.
And why do you think we do that? Why did your soul, Janelle, this aspect of you come down? Are we coming to learn? Like
Yes.
we crave the polarity, the contrast, the emotions, all those things.
Mm-hmm.
How do you see it?
Yeah, we're here to learn and to evolve. And all of the experiences that we have, it's like it feeds it back to source and to the soul group that you originated from. Like, yeah, and also too, like for me, like I'm a blueprinter.
A
That's
what?
a blueprinter.
Blue printer?
Yeah, that's like from the Andromeda galaxy. And everybody has their different way of explaining it. Nobody knows for sure, but
Right.
that is what I've been told, and it really resonates with me. And so by me having all these different experiences, I am then kind of like uploading information to that soul group. And it's interesting because when I meet people that I really resonate with them, like I found that like people that know their galactic history, um, like they are like, oh yeah, I'm a blueprinter too. It's like, oh, that's why.
Huh. I'd never heard of Blueprinter. And those are like blue beings? Is that how you?
I don't feel like they're in physical form.
Oh,
It's almost like a just like a collective consciousness is the way I understand it.
hmm,
But yeah, like when if you are a blueprinter or any of the soul groups, like you experience different lifetimes in different places as well. I don't feel like you just go to one place and that's it. I mean, maybe some people do, but I think the majority of people, they're star travelers, really.
right. Do you feel you talk a lot about like awakening, new earth? We talk about that a lot lately in the last couple of years. Well, really since, I mean, it definitely the shift in 2020 was a huge shift for this entire planet. So, but when you talk about, the awakening and I see this frequency shift, I look at life. If I looked at, like I told you before we hit record, if I looked at the beginning of my podcast episodes, I'd be like, who is she? Like, OMG. And now it's like, I'm a whole different person, thank God. I mean, that's why we came here to be that, to grow. But what to explain your perspective and, 2025 has been such a I mean, the time, first of all, goes so fast. I can't believe we're almost into August. And, it's like there's so much uh people are waking up. And I think it's because I have been awake and I've been always questioning things. I'm the conspiracy theorist, or the girls will be like, roll their eyes. Oh, mom, here she goes. Right? Like, okay, well, now it's like, oh, mom might have been right.
uh,
But I think there's so much more of that now. So how do you explain that shift?
yeah. My awakening started with like going down all the rabbit holes and being a conspiracy theorist. And yeah, now it's like, oh, okay, those are things are I used to feel like people thought I was crazy. It's like people couldn't even hear what I was saying.
Right,
And now if you say it, it's a little bit more like people know. And I just feel like the energy is shifting on the earth and like the veil is lifting and those things cannot be hidden
right,
anymore. They are coming to the surface because we are on a higher frequency. So those things that were always there, we just couldn't see them, are now being revealed to us. And our consciousness is higher so we can see it from a different perspective and see the lies and the deception that we couldn't see before, but was always there.
right,
Um, yeah, and I just feel like everybody is really, even if they're not, if they haven't been through an awakening, everyone is shifting. And to the new souls, they're not new souls, but like the kids that are coming in, they are higher frequency. They are coming onto the earth when it's a higher frequency so they can bring more light with them and they are powerful and I feel like they are going to really help bring new earth in just by being here. It's like their energy is helping everybody awaken.
right. Oh, for sure. I work in schools here, and it's when I look at the 5-year-olds versus, so there's two classes. I have a couple schools that I go to and teach mindset tools too.
Mm,
And I just love it. And it's definitely in any of my past lives, it's always been a teacher to these children. So I know that's where the passion comes from, my soul. That's my blueprint or whatever. But I see these little kids, and I go from a 5-year-old to an 8-year-old class. And then the next hour, I go from an 8-year-old class to a 14-year-old class. And what a difference do I see, even in one year, this last year, from the 14-year-olds 12 and 14-year-olds, it's like this flip of a switch. And I know you have boys, so I mean, you were around their friends and saw this. That's like now they're zombies, or like they've changed. And their magic in the other classroom at 5 to 8, it's like they're talking about their aliens and they're creating these amazing with their imagination is so amazing. And then you start going, okay, everybody. And that's where I have passion is for these children to keep the 5 to 8-year-old mindset and their imagination, because that's really the truth. That's really who they are. And then society, all whatever, I mean, the people and the parents in this community are very more highly conscious. So these children are very grateful to be in this. I mean, they're so lucky they don't have any idea, but they it's just it's such an interesting way of seeing it when you understand children, and especially the frequency now when you see the children coming in, and how I can almost see it in their eyes. I connect with these babies. I'm at the store. I could have 10 million babies. Like,
Yeah.
but I just connect so much, and I just know we almost have telepath. I talk to them through their eyes and they won't leave my eyes. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh." And then Paige's like, "Mom, look away." I can't. I'm connecting. I'm talking to her.
Yeah. Oh my
But
gosh.
yeah, I love it. So explain to me that, like, do you see how that, like, even raising your boys, like, even how are your boys because of you and your husband with friends? Is it a harder time? Is it harder for them to connect with kids that haven't been raised by conscious, intentional parents like you?
Yes, like my middle son, he can fit in a lot easier. I feel like he's probably had more Earth lives, and so it's easier for him. But like my oldest son is, um, and my youngest, like it's just they're just different. It's like they can't fully connect with kids their age because they're on such a, not that they're better, but it's
Right.
like they think of things very differently. My youngest son, I actually pulled him out of school because just struggled with being in school, and like all of the teachers, at least in the school that he was in, it's like all of these teachers were just so unhealed, and it's like they were throwing their trauma all over the place, and there was something about his light that was irritating them.
Right.
And I could recognize that because I see it. But if another parent who's not awake to that, it would be really hard for that child because they would keep being in that pattern. And I saw that, and I was finally like, okay, we're not doing this anymore. So I pulled him out to do homeschool for the last few years. And that has been helpful because he's not around all that negativity that's gonna like keep him down.
Right. My girls, it's so interesting to watch, when they're little and you're planting the seeds of their, as a mom and teaching, and you don't know if they're like growing roots so they could bloom right now in their teenage years, but
Mhm.
they did. And it's almost like it's that moment of when I hear a sentence come out, I'm like, oh my gosh, she listened, or oh my gosh, the flower bloomed. But watching them with um, other friends having a hard time with getting friends or
Mhm.
maintaining and not and seeing the truth, I think. And it's just it's unconscious in a way of just, it's like it's kind of like their soul is like just can't connect. They're
Mhm.
just, it's not a vibrational match. And when I
Yeah.
say to them, like, when I see the struggle, and it's a lot, it's not, and I'm not like, people could listen to this and go, "Oh, I'm sure Ashley, your girls are do pageants and they do their screw whatever." But no, it's not easy, and it's not a way of being a victim. It's a way of embracing it's just me as a mom teaching them, like, it's just not a match, and they're not worse or better, nothing. It's
Right.
just through life. And I think especially not, I think for my where I'm at 56, in 2020, there were friends of mine that just disappeared. Like I can't even tell you, they're still in the neighborhood, but I used to see them all the time. It just like they fell off the face of the earth. And it's
Hmm.
okay. And because
Yeah.
we're just not a match and it just happens. I mean, that could have been a timeline. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, and now well, that really a timeline? Because I don't even see those people anymore. But it's watching these children and going back to the school and how these little children are so, you can just feel it and you see it. And then the light starts to dim, you know? But
Hmm.
it's like what I see with my girls is the girls that their friendship, they're still dimming. And so when I say, they know how to keep their vibration up and they know the tools. So you see that they're up here in a vibration, not better. And I know we've made that clear. I'm not saying they're better, but when these other girls are dimming and kind of feeding into the narrative of the social media and all the things that these kids are, doing as, whatever they're supposed to be doing, and they rise above that. It's just you can't look at it as the old days where we just kind of all played together. It's
Hmm.
just a different, right? Like
Yeah.
in your childhood, you were just outside playing and it didn't matter. We weren't looking at frequency or vibration. We were just playing.
Yeah.
How do you see, like, where do you see the world going? And then we'll talk about what you offer. And we've already gone to an hour and it goes by so fast.
Um, yeah, I totally see what you're saying because I feel like those kids that are experiencing that are having a hard time, they are, even if it doesn't seem like it, they are helping to like pave the way for other people. Like I really like we are energetic beings and I feel like even if we don't see that we're affecting other people in a positive way, we are. It's like your girls and my boys are like helping their friends that are like, being dimmed to it's like reminding their soul, like, oh, okay, I can be like this.
Right.
Um, yeah, and it's just I just feel like it's going to continue to shift. I know there's so much fear in the world, and if you listen to the news, then you feel like the world is, ending, but really it's really changing and I feel like it's beautiful, like the
Oh,
shift
me
that
too.
we're experiencing. If you choose to look at it that way, because
Right.
that's how I choose to look at
Oh,
it.
for sure. I get up in the morning and I'm like, oh my gosh, I get so excited. It's so fun to see. It's like I look at the trees and I talk to the dogs and we're talking and I touch the trees and I'm like, should we touch this tree today? And, where do you want to go this way? There's the hummingbird and what message? And it's just, I wake up and I just start looking for the magic. And when
Mhm.
I start and I know how important my vibration is, and when I feel it dip, I'm aware. I'm like, oh, I need to get back. But it's like we're in this time when I feel like we all raised our hands to be here, and I know our souls were like had a call. Like Dolores Cannon. Do you follow her?
Yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, you hear the volunteers. I know I was. I mean, I feel like I volunteered. You
yeah,
volunteered.
yeah.
Pretty much everybody I've interviewed has volunteered, but it's just so fun to see that this wave that we get, that we are in a human body experiencing and witnessing.
Mhm.
So share with everyone as we end this beautiful hour together, what you offer and what you did for me versus, because you really have two things on your website that you do, and I'm sure there's other things you go in different ways, but you chose one way to work with me, and you were just intuitively pulled to do that.
Yeah, I just felt guided to do it's Akashic holographic repatterning. So it's energy healing that I do with the Akashic records open. And so um, it's like that session is just like I open your Akashic records and I just allow the guides to intuitively like guide me to any place in your field that needs to be like needs some healing. Your chakras, your um, you know, any of your like spiritual bodies. And then I receive guidance and information during those sessions, and I just write it down. And then after the energy healing, then I share any guidance that came through. And it really looks different for everyone. It totally depends on, what it is they're experiencing. Um, and that I guess it kind of just depends on what the person is looking for. I also do Akashic Records readings, which is just like soul guidance, like anything that you might be struggling with or you need to understand further. The Akashic Records bring this like higher perspective, which brings such healing to any situations that you are struggling with. And so really any question that you have, like you can come to an Akashic Records reading and we can ask the guides and get guidance on. So it really just depends on what the person wants. There is energy healing that happens in the Akashic Records readings if it comes through that the person needs to heal like a past life or heal their inner child or whatever it may be that comes up. There's healing that happens with that as well.
Wow, I loved it, by the way. Thank you. Oh, everybody. I mean, I honestly felt I was laying on here in this room on the couch, and I just laid there while she did the healing. She asked me if she could enter my Akashic records. We did a meditation. I listened to music, and then I had to get up, and I was like, oh, this was so good. But then she read what she like we talked about it in this interview, but go to janelletheintuitive.com,
Yeah.
and that's also your Instagram.
Yeah. And I have a TikTok as well, Janelle the Intuitive.
Okay. Do you go on TikTok? I need to follow you on TikTok now.
I do. It's kind of like right now I'm just doing like the same things that I post on Instagram. I
Yeah.
just started putting them over on TikTok.
Yeah, good. Fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I just started putting my stuff on TikTok too, because I'm a newly TikTok girl. Like now the girls, I'm like, oh, mom's on TikTok, but it's fun. Anyway, thank you, Janelle. It was so fun. I know you're my soul sister, and I know there'll be more connections in the future for sure.
Yes, thank you so much, Ashley.
You're so welcome.